Hi, welcome to my channel, Diary of the Cosmic Canvas by jenniferladd.art. So without further ado, I just wanted to chat to you today about Saturn. Saturn has been at 0 degrees now since October. Now, Saturn did go retrograde on the 18th of June. So it had already travelled to 7 degrees and then it started travelling back. So it had a moment of 0 degrees in Saturn. Now, what does 0 degrees, Saturn at 0 degrees in Pisces actually mean? Well, it certainly means wait. We're waiting for a new beginning. A new beginning's about to start. And I think we've been sensing this for a while, but just to go through a few things, Saturn has been in Pisces since March this year. And Saturn is karmic. Saturn is our teacher. He's our timer. And he's our lesson that we're learning. Wherever in our chart that we have Saturn at 0 degrees in Pisces is where we have been learning some new lessons. And Saturn brings limitations and restrictions, boundaries, and it stops things and slows us down. It brings us reality and hard work. Wherever we have 0 degrees in Pisces in our chart is where we have had to learn to break free. Our natal chart energy doesn't change. It's with us throughout our lives. However, Saturn is continually moving, and wherever it makes contact with our birth chart, our natal chart, we have different conversations going on, which is when a personal reading is. If you want more details, then please do contact me for a personal reading. But this is a general information about Saturn at 0 degrees at this time. So to give you the characteristics of Saturn, as I was saying, Saturn brings, it shows us our responsibilities, and it can create a container for us, especially in Pisces, because Pisces is known for not having a container. Saturn can bring us rewards where we've worked hard in this area before. So if we've done our work previously when Saturn was in Pisces, which will have been about 30 years ago. Those of you who are turning sort of 29 now, you're going to be going through your Saturn return, your first Saturn return. And it does bring that sense of responsibility to you. It brings us rewards when we've done our work. And Saturn is the builder of the zodiac. It's the builder, it's the karmic part of the chart, and it takes time to build things as well. It's a slow planet. Saturn doesn't like to be rushed. Saturn will slow things way down as soon as it enters a sign, and it tends to have a bit of a reality check to that area of our lives, especially in Pisces, because Pisces is so dreamy. Saturn can represent the father as well, a father energy, an authoritative energy in our chart. It doesn't necessarily have to be your father. It could be your mother, if your mother was particularly more the authority, but somebody in your life, in your narrative of life, who has been the father energy. And they tend to have authority in your life, or did have at some point. Now let's have a look at Pisces so that we can understand how the energy is playing out. Pisces are the dreamer of the zodiac. They're the mystic and the idealist, and they are deeply compassionate and empathic. Pisces feel everything. They feel to the depths of their souls people's pain, and they don't just feel their own pain. They feel the neighbour's pain. They can imagine, if they actually focus on this, they can imagine every single person's pain. It can be quite unbearable. Pisces is ruled by the planet of Neptune, which is the planet of illusion, and amongst other Piscean traits. But Pisces' energy is emotional and feminine and psychic and highly intuitive and very magical and mystical in nature. And it's very flowing energy. It can be quite scattered at times, very much in the clouds. It doesn't feel boundaries. It doesn't really know where the boundaries are. Just like water that is not frozen, it's a mutable sign, so it's not fixed. it just flows everywhere. And this can be absolutely beautiful, but it all can also take you to oneness. It's just beautiful. However, there is a downside and an upside to each sign. Sorry. So Pisces is Christ energy, and along with that, it's the energy of sacrifice. And Pisces can be prone to being the martyr in relationships or in just general. They can't help themselves sometimes because they don't know where the boundary is. They don't know where the boundary is from their emotions and the person sat next to them. They don't even have to know them. They don't have to be emotionally invested to feel this. They just have this kind of open channel to other people's emotions. So it can be quite tiring for them. Now, due to that, they often need to have regular time by themselves, just like all the water signs. They need time by themselves to recharge because they don't get their energy from being around other people's energy. They'll get some, and then after that, they need to go back and they need to recharge their batteries. So it's more the intimacy that they get the charge up from rather than the actual shared energy itself. Pisces don't tend to know how to separate themselves from other people, as I said. So they can merge with someone and then they just kind of lose themselves. So this is the energy of Pisces. So wherever you have Pisces in your chart, you may find you have these sorts of issues. Magical thinking can cause illusions, which in itself can then create feeling you've been deceived because you weren't really realistic in your thinking. So the intuition is the high road and the strength and the compassion. And, one can float and not really act. So here are my papers. I've got my notes here. So let's see how Saturn and Pisces interact. Wherever you have Pisces in your chart is the area of life where you have these traits and themes that we've just spoken about. 0 degrees of Pisces is where Saturn is right now until tomorrow. So tomorrow, the 28th of November, it will shift to 1 degrees of Pisces. Now, we've been sat with 0 degrees now since October. Okay, it hasn't been very long. However, long enough for us to feel like when are things going to move on. Pisces and Saturn together has been a wake-up call since the 7th of March. It's been the end of illusions, karmic endings, limitations and boundaries might be added to your life, which actually can be a good thing. This has not been necessarily a negative thing, but it might have felt quite difficult because endings often are due to our attachment. But Saturn helps Pisces to see the realistic or, what Pisces has not seen for what it is, which often they don't because they do have rose-tinted spectacles and they do see life through a different lens to most people. And Saturn has been a very sobering eye-opening lesson for us all. Saturn is not the dreamer of the zodiac, quite the opposite. Saturn likes to know the reality, and it wants things to be tangible. What is actually right in front of me? Can I see it? Can I feel it? Can I touch it? If I can't, I want proof that it exists beyond beyond those realms. Saturn has actually been in a nice harmonious aspect, a trine, which means it's been brought about positive changes and lessons to allow us to evolve past the illusions into our greater potential. It was trining. I've forgotten what it was trining now. I haven't put that in my notes, I'm sorry. It's had a trine in our charts to the Sagittarius areas of our charts for a while. And it's brought about the removal of the fog for us to see our way through. And it's been quite a heartbreaking time for some because we've had some Scorpio season lessons delivering us our deeper truths, maybe the truths that we've been trying not to see because they've just been too bloody painful to actually go to. We have sank deeper into the reality and it can feel dark before we can emerge into the light. First, we have to look around and see what we couldn't see or where we were too scared to see. Acceptance is the front door to the light, which Pisces often can deliver us that. It can deliver, it encourages acceptance and surrender and a letting go, because Pisces doesn't really hold on to things really. So this is the good thing about Pisces. It doesn't hold on to grudges, tend to move on. However, they can't necessarily hold on to things, and plans can sometimes fall through because of that. It's not tangible. So this is where you need Saturn to bring things about. So you might have had dreams. I mean, Pisces are amazing at dreaming. Amazing. However, without the container to hold that dream, to make it real and to actually bring it into manifestation, it just remains a dream and never comes into fruition. And quite often Pisces can end up feeling, if wherever you have Pisces, or if you are a Piscean sun, if you have a Pisces sun, you'll understand that this feels just quite hopeless at times when all these dreams happen, but you can't quite make it into reality until you have a transit, of course, that can then help you along. Or maybe you have other areas of your chart that enable that. Maybe you've got quite a lot of earth in your chart, so that helps. But Pisces encourages us to let things go. And as it's travelling around the zodiac, the sun travels around the zodiac, it illuminates our path and shows us our next step of evolution. It shows us where to go next, and we can see the map in front of us a little bit clearer. And where do we want to express our energy next? And Pluto has been, I'll do another video on Pluto, but Pluto has been dismantling the structures in our lives as well, both in the macro sense and in our inner worlds as well, which is added to that sense of, well, you know, what is happening in my life now. And as I say, I'll do a separate video about Pluto because it's quite a long one to do. But according to astrology, of course, everything's shown to us how it is unfolding, and it gives us clues where to put our energy next so that we can manifest better in our lives. And Saturn will move from 0 degrees, as I say, to 1 degrees of Pisces tomorrow. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to have instant change, because we are having some squares until the early parts of December, which are going to make us feel limited still. But Saturn is going to be starting to pick up its pace. Saturn will continue to show us what we need to learn, and more fog will be likely to be cleared for us to see where we need to be. A continuation of bringing us what we need to revisit from what we revisited, in Saturn retrograde. We'll be able to take that knowledge and things that we've learned and all those lessons and be sure not to repeat them, and just to keep carrying on the evolutionary pace and growth as we go along, which it will pick up, the pace of that. It's slightly slow at the moment. Saturn does like to take its time, and therefore it takes us time for us to create the momentum on our own journey and to see the movement forwards. Our journey, the momentum on our journey projects what we are attending to. Wherever we need to review our themes of Pisces, that's where the movement's taking place. So areas of our life could be relationships, for example. Say, for example, who have you let go of recently? Have you let go of anyone recently in your life? Have you let go of certain relationships that just haven't been serving you? Or maybe you've let go of the dynamic has had to break down so that you can rebuild. And then there might be patterns as well. Have you decided to stop some patterns, as I say? And have you been overgiving? That's a very Piscean thing to do. Exhausting yourself when actually you don't have the energy to give because you haven't topped up your own energy first. And have you overly relied on someone? These are questions to ask yourself in those areas of where in your chart you have Pisces. Where have you had illusions that have been broken? Since March, put on the sobering lights and you found out some truths. You know, it's like having this kind of like the curtain pulled away and then you get to see who's behind the curtain. That's what it feels like when Saturn enters Pisces? Did you have magic thinking about something in the area of your life? Now, the full moon, which has happened today, this morning, at around 9 o'clock, the full moon in Gemini has been squaring Saturn, which formed part of the T-square, which creates tension. And the tension of a T-square is felt quite strongly because it makes you feel like it's an impossible situation. And we're in this right now, and we're wanting to... So we've had an urge to go for it with Sun conjunct Mars. Mars is right next to the Sun, urging us to get going. And get going on possibly a huge endeavour that awaits you. Now, Sagittarius is out there, you'll be having your solar return, so you're going to have this kind of energy probably, throughout the whole year. Now, getting back to Saturn, so Saturn at 0 degrees is not allowing that yet. It's not allowing it yet. It's almost time, but not yet. And it can feel lonely when the moon is squaring Saturn. However, it's going to be short for a short time because the moon does move fast. The way out of this tension that we're feeling at the moment is to just reevaluate some of the details before you go forwards. Plan out the steps and collate the data and be your own editor with a critical eye and go through each step in detail. Look at what have you reevaluated during this last month, and since March, the first time round, it got to the 0 degrees. That would have been an extremely eye-opening time, as we say. So what does need to be improved now? What's the next step? Is there anything that needs doing before you move forwards? Because we don't want to go back to where we were. We've made our improvements. The karma has completed. And we don't want to be reliving those things again, I'm sure. So we're going to move forwards, learning from what we've learned. Be ready to be ready. So Saturn, 1 degrees of Pisces is on the 28th of November. And we also have the moon trining the North Node. So we need to follow our hearts. And that's it, folks. That's my podcast for Saturn at 0 degrees. So thank you for listening. And please do like and subscribe to Jennifer Ladd Art. Details will be below if you want to pop on the website, take a look at my offerings. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.